I am powerful.
I am powerful.
Louder. I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
Hello. Welcome to the podcast. Today, I have a really special treat. This is a powerhouse, an empowerer of human that I met last week in New York. A person that I am so happy has agreed to come on. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Catherine. Catherine, please tell the world about yourself.
Thank you so much, Julio. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Catherine Shugrue dos Santos, and I am the executive director of an organization in Washington Heights, Inwood, New York City, called Fresh Youth Initiatives, or FYI. So when you hear me say FYI, it's the organization. And we are a youth development organization. We were founded in 1993 as a youth service and youth leadership organization, and we've stayed very true to our roots. So we are an organization founded, our founder, Andrew Rubinson, used to say, youth are not problems to be solved, they are assets to be developed. And so, right? So powerful. So we're not here to help, just to help out and to respond if youth don't have the power. Youth have the power, right? Their families have power, but they don't always know it, and they're not always in touch with it, right? And so we do work. We have two key pillars. One is real success youth leadership, right? This is about academic success. This is about college and career readiness. This is about finding who you are, discovering what you want to be, setting goals, being able to live your dreams, right? Really helping develop the next generation of leaders. And the other part is holistic health and wellness. And that encompasses our sports and recreation program, our food and nutrition programs, but also our mental health program. We know very, very clearly, as you know, right?
Yes.
Julio, you're a champion for this.
Yes.
That we need to support the mental health and wellness of young people at all ages, right? This is a rough world that we're living in. And we need to make sure that we are helping them develop the social emotional learning tools and the self-regulation, that they have trusted adults they can go to and talk to get support, and that we can empower them to help each other. Right? Yeah. We have a really cool stuff planned for the fall where we're going to be training youth leaders to learn mental health first aid and how to support each other and get to trusted adults when they need to. Because it isn't all us pushing out these services to them. They've got to be part of building the services, designing the services, and delivering those services. So that's what we're about.
I'm like, you don't understand. Okay, so I have a lot to ask. So 1993, right? When we met each other last week, I told you that there has to be an impasse where I met you guys. And I believe in energy and life, and the fact that it brought me back there with you, and you were feeding the school, right? The school, yes. PS28. So I'm trying to figure out, how did you guys do that program? Did you guys go into the school?
Yeah. So in the very beginning, right, what we did was we started to just talk to kids in the neighborhood, teenagers in the neighborhood, bring them together, first in the founder's apartment, right, in Washington Heights, then another apartment, then a storefront. Yeah. And then in the middle 2000s, auction from the city, we bought a building, and then we got grants and donations to build it. And that's the community center where you came last week and did a workshop for our summer camp staff, which was great and really appreciate it. But when we were first started, what kids would do is they would come together and they would identify, okay, so what are the things in this neighborhood that we think are problems and that we want to help fix, right? And so one of them was, and you remember in those days, Julio, you were here, there were a lot of folks who were unhoused, who were living on the street, who didn't have enough food, didn't have warm jackets, didn't have blankets, right? And so those young people would make soup and bring it around to people who were in the neighborhood. They would sew sleeping bags. They would sew, jackets and blankets for people. And we would do this big volunteer day where a bunch of adults and kids would come together into like a church basement and spend all night just like sewing things and then taking them out to the community. So it was very much service learning, like people who were, maybe they didn't have everything themselves, but they knew that they had something they could still give, right?
Wow.
And so that was how it started. And then the other thing that was really big in the 90s, you remember, right? The parks around here. Now, one of the things I love about Washington Heights is there is a lot of sky and there are a lot of trees, and you can actually go look at, like, you can see the sky.
Yes.
But in those days, a lot of the areas, the parks and stuff, were like pretty rough, right? They
Pretty.
were a
Oh,
mess, right?
bad. We used to
Bad.
find, as kids, we would
So
start finding the paraphernalia on the
that's right.
floor. It was
They were not
dirty.
safe places, right? So what these kids would do is go in and clean up the park. So right now there's a park over here, Highbridge Park, near
Yeah.
where we are in Washington Heights.
Yes. Yes. The
That
pool.
park, right? We worked with other people in the neighborhood, Coach Dave and the Dreamers, and a bunch of other small community-based groups to say this park needs to be revitalized. And the city did it. So now there's like
Wow.
basketball courts there. There's the bridge across, right? You can now walk over into the Bronx.
What?
And so, yeah, so FYI was really part of that happening. And so every year there's this, for 25 years, there's been this event called Hike the Heights. And basically it's a group of organizations, including FYI, we're one of the founders. We come together with the other folks in the neighborhood. We bring kids together, and you can do as much as you want in terms of like a hiking through the park over the bridge. And so last year we got kids to leave from our middle school that were up in Inwood, Amistad Dual Language School, and walk all the way down to the Sunken Meadow Park. And then they get face painting and they get to hang out, and there's dancing and there's food, and it's all free, and it's all stuff that it's like sign up for after school here. And there was a participatory voting booth. So you could vote on what the city budget should spend money on. So really promoting all that stuff, like
You're
civic
giving them
engagement, right?
power.
So that's where we kind of came from. Now,
Okay.
in the middle, there was a chance, and FYI took it. They shot for the moon, and they went from this very tiny volunteer-based organization. They applied for this funding for city contracted after-school services, right? So we did that, and we got for PS 128, your old school,
Yeah.
which we used to do partnerships with and go and hang out and do stuff for the kids periodically. But we were like, we want to kind of be here every day after school, right?
Yeah.
So we got that grant, and we were able to do that. So we're in PS 128 for kindergarten through 5th grade. We're at Amistad Middle School, 6th to 8th grade. And we're at Gregorio Luperon High School for science and mathematics for 9 through 12. And then we also have middle schoolers from all the area. Middle schoolers can come to our building, and we have a middle school program on site here. And in the fall, we're starting a new program for high schoolers. We had a previous high school program. The city funding got cut, but we're bringing it back, and we're focusing on leadership development and civic and community engagement, really developing leadership, having these kids tell us, what do you want to be? How do you want to develop your life? What do you want to work on? We're going to help you do it. What do you want to work on in your neighborhood? What do you think the problems are? Going back to our roots. What do you think is a problem, and how do you want to work on it? And then we'll help them get connected and think about that. There's a lot of kids care about climate change. Kids care about health.
And
They care about
leadership
nutrition.
and all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
they
like
care
in
about
it.
democracy, right? So we're going to help them understand how government works. We're going to take them to talk to legislators, not about we're not going to tell them what to talk about.
That's
We're going
it.
to say, what do you care about? We're going to put you in front of your elected officials, and you tell them what you care about. Maybe it's you want more parks. Maybe it's you want more lifeguards at the pool. Whatever it is, you tell us, right? So that's what FYI is really about, is working with kids to prioritize. But through these after-school programs, we've added this really strong academic piece, so that we know that in our schools in this neighborhood, right, only about, in the elementary school, only about 30% of the students are reading at grade level. And so we have put in a lot of effort into our after school to really help kids learn not just to read, but to love reading. Right? To really recognize, like, you read and you are, you're getting transported to a place you've never been. So this past winter, we worked with the elementary school kids. They learned about caterpillars into butterflies, and we actually had them to mix our STEM or science stuff with our literacy stuff. That's my academic term stuff. we had them grow caterpillars and then release butterflies into the park. And so they got to learn about science, the metamorphosis of caterpillars into butterflies, all of them, the sort of poetry and literature and reading around how we together as people, we develop, we metamorphosize into new things. And a book can transport you and can transform your life. So it's been so fun. And so we really merge those things, right? We don't just say like, now is your homework time, right? We say, what did you learn today? How are you? I think one of the things I never want to forget to mention early on is that one of the things that I am most proud of at FYI is that 30% of our staff used to be participants
Yeah,
here.
I saw that.
Right?
Yeah, I was talking to. Yeah, I was like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah, and they keep coming back, which is amazing.
Yes.
And and what I love is that this summer we've got some folks who go to college but come back for the summers to do summer camp, and they're getting masters in psychology and masters in
So you're
teaching, and
seeing
it's
the results of the work.
so
You're seeing
fabulous,
it.
right?
My
Yeah.
God.
So we really believe both in, yes, we're going to help you dream your dreams. We're going to help you have the space so you can do that and decide what you want to be and go out and get it. And if that means you follow Julio's footsteps and move to Florida, that's great.
That's
But
it.
if you want to come back to this neighborhood, we want you to see that you can be successful here too, because you know how this is. You came back and you felt that pull. People really
I
want to
felt
give
it.
back.
Yes.
They want to be
Yes.
successes here. So we're doing that too, right? People who are on our leadership team were born and raised here, which is amazing, right? 2 members of our senior leadership team were born and raised less than 10 blocks from this building.
Yeah,
And
I
so
spoke to them.
the
They're
kids
amazing.
see, right, that the leaders are from here too, right? So the
That's
kids
true
also see
leadership. That is true
it's like real, and they see,
leadership.
I
That
could
is
be that.
true
I could do
leadership.
that, right?
Yes.
Our head of elementary education, who was a teacher in New York City for 10 years, she taught in charter schools, and she came to FY because she wanted to do more community work. But she says, I grew up here, right? This is my community to the kids. And so they see it, they see themselves reflected in leadership, not just in the folks that they're in school with, but every level of group leaders
it
to
makes it.
managers to directors. It's so important. And so we think of FYI as really a pipeline to success, right? So we think about it as we have kids who've been in program with us since they were in kindergarten and they're going into high school or they're in college, right?
It's a
And
little
then they
family.
come
I
back
saw
and
it.
they work
Yeah.
here. So it's great.
Yes. I'm going to tell you something. One thing, when I went over there, I didn't expect to get what I got. You know what I'm saying? I didn't expect it at all. It was like a ton of emotions, a ton of feelings. I wish I didn't leave. I want to go back home. But the biggest feeling was like, there's people giving these kids, I'm from that neighborhood. And I know what it was when I was there. And it was not the place for a child to grow up and be successful. That was not. And to see that you guys built the safe place, which is huge for trauma. It's huge for the childhood trauma you go through there, right? A safe place, because I saw them. They felt safe. They felt like it was their place. I mean, it was magical. And giving them the work, all of it, giving them the power in the government, showing them how to do that. It's outrageous. Do you see yourself? Do your staff, do you guys see that you guys are heroes or angels or sent from the divine?
Somebody else say it. I see it. I will say that, these are rough times we're living in, right? There's a lot of conflict. A lot of people are hurting.
Yes.
And what gets me up every day are 2 things. First and foremost, the kids that we serve and support, they bring light and joy and power and sass and smarts into the space every day. And it just brings me joy.
Sass, yes.
They bring a lot of sass, and I love that.
A lot, I saw it, but it's fun.
Like the good kind of sass, right?
Yes,
like know your power and you're going to sit in it, right?
Yes, I saw it.
And the staff, who are, of course, many of them were those kids, right? But the staff I'm old and I've worked in this field for 40 years and I've worked with tremendous advocates in my life. And these people are some of the most devoted, dedicated, passionate, fierce educators, advocates, caregivers. It is their life mission to do this work, right? And I'll say this. We don't pay as much as Target pays, right?
Got it.
We are
But this,
trying to improve that, right? We're working on that. We're doing both advocacy at the state and city level to make salaries higher. We've worked on raising that. We try to increase the time off we give people and try to continue to make this a really good place to work. But you could go work at Walmart and make a little bit more money. And people choose to do this work, even though it's tiring
it
and
is.
hard and
Yes.
it's a lot of pressure, right?
And
Because
change.
they
Like,
take so seriously
yeah.
the responsibility they have to these young people, and they do it every day. And I am inspired by that every day.
That's
So
because of
I
you
thank
guys.
you for saying that, because
Yeah,
it means a lot.
it's you, because you taught them the how, the why, the when. You taught them all the important things. So these, like, it's a system that you created that is starting to support itself. So can you imagine in 10 years, these kids are now in the White House. These kids are now
That's right.
in government, you know, and they have power, and can you imagine this
Awesome.
system?
It's
I am
awesome.
very
And I
proud
will
of you
say,
guys.
like, it's
Very
before
proud.
me, right? This place has been going since 93. I've only been here for 2 years. And I will say it's got this very, very committed board. We're really lucky. Our board is really
I saw it.
strongly committed to the work.
Saw it.
And, this is such a diverse and dynamic neighborhood. There's so much going on,
More than
right? It
ever. More
is
than ever. Yeah, I
so
saw
fun.
it.
And the
Is.
community really supports, right? The neighbors support, right? So it's really a place where people are in relationship with one another and they're
Yes.
building trust. And I think that is something that organizations sometimes can miss in our field, and I think
Yes. Big
FYI
time.
really, 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 works to build trust. We had a couple of, last year, we had some pretty big funding cuts from the government. And, we had a lot of really hard conversations with staff and hard conversations with the community, with our school partners. We meet regularly with the principals, the assistant principals, and the teachers and the guidance counselors and the parent coordinators at the schools, so that we're all on the same page. And it's been hard because there's a shrinking net of resources,
Yes.
and there's more need than ever. So we try to be really, really, it's more important than ever, I think, to support organizations that are doing work that you care about. And I think so, just to sort of, sometimes people come to me and they say, Kat, so much is going on. So many people are in pain. I don't know what I can do. And some of what we can do is, for your listeners to think about, who do you want to support? Find an organization doing that thing you care about. Maybe it's kids. Maybe it's pet adoption. Maybe it's environmental stuff, whatever you care about. Find organizations that are doing that and find ways to support them. That could be a donation, sure, but it also could be volunteering, right? Julio, you came and did this fabulous workshop that we did not pay you for. And, the staff loved it, and they felt that you were one of them, right? Like, you were from the neighborhood, and it's that sort of thing. Like, what can you do? We had volunteers here yesterday. We get a grant from a foundation that's affiliated with a corporation, and that corporation brought their staff yesterday and put on a whole summer fun day for the kids at the elementary school. And so, and it was just a 1-day thing. These folks are not going to necessarily be there all the time, but some of them are like, hey, can I get more involved? Like, I want to be part of this.
Yes. That's the
So
feeling you give. That's what I felt. It's
that's
like,
great.
it's
But it's
what
so
you give.
important, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage people in this time, right? I'm a social worker, so I think about how we're feeling, right? When you were here and you were
Yep.
feeling so much, I
Yep.
felt that. We in it together. That's the
That's
only
the
way we
only
get
way.
by, is that we do it together. So I really
That's right.
think that we, young people they are the leaders of tomorrow. And so it's so essential that we give them the opportunities to access what they need, whatever that is. And that could be mental health services, that can be food, that can be an environment where they can learn and grow and try new things. A lot of what we do with the middle schoolers is expose them to things they can just try out, right?
Yeah, I
Art,
saw that.
music, right?
Yeah.
Science. Let's try this weird science thing. Why not, right?
I saw a bunch of keyboards that I leaned on. I'm like, wait, that's a lot of keyboards. Oh yeah, we wanted to try music the other day. I'm like, what? And they got their
That's
keyboard?
what they do. That's what they do. It's just great. And
Yes.
they do these great projects. We had some, recently they went in and they put together a whole bunch of sandwiches and brought them to the shelter down the block. So it's really also like, it's definitely like, we want to help you with the things that you need and where you might not have what you need. And also there's always somebody else who needs too. And we're all in this together, right? It requires all of us. We just had a church group come up and volunteer with us. Last week was a heavy volunteer week this week, from North Carolina. And they brought their youth ministries. They brought young kids teenagers from North Carolina who were in this church group. And they came up and hung out with us, and they reorganized our food pantry, and they helped us put together furniture, and they helped us move things around. And previous years they've come, they've done painting or whatever, but it was really great. And it was really, their leaders were saying, this is service. It's whatever whatever folks need. Right?
It is. You are in ground zero. I don't know. I guess I haven't been in the neighborhood for a long time, right? So I don't know how much has changed. But I did see there's still some areas that are still there, the same. But what I saw is like your building, well, to me, that I'm from there, right? I saw a beacon of hope, right? Because you could tell that everybody respects that building no matter where they are or in that neighborhood mentally, right? And you could see it because I felt safe no matter what. When I was there, it wasn't a safe place. But
Yeah.
I don't know about now. So,
Yeah.
but I didn't even think about it. So long as I was standing in front of that building, I could feel like the power, the energy of respect, that everyone knows this is the beacon of hope. That's what it felt like. It was amazing to see.
And just two things I'll say. On the building, it still has our original tagline, which is taking responsibility for things that matter.
Yeah.
It's like on the outside of the building, which is really cool. And what I'll also say is, we were just talking about this morning, the folks who own the bodega on the corner, right? So just two buildings away. If they see something happening with our kids on the street, they come and tell us. Right? So there is a neighborhood. There's a community that is looking out for the kids. Right? And, I've heard my staff say there's folks on the block who are sort of like, paying attention to who's going to school or who shouldn't, who's on the block, who shouldn't be on the block at this time of day. And so there is that, I think that is still here. There's a lot of folks on the block. There's like the older guys who are playing dominoes, right? They're there every day. They'll tell you who shouldn't be here, who's right. So there's really that sort of sense. FYI is sort of a neighbor, right? Yes. And I think that is real. And I think that is there. And the year that we lost that we've lost that high school program a year ago. And some of the kids came back to us. We did a focus group with those kids and said, what do you need? Because we're trying to fill those needs, even though we lost that contract. And they were like, well, we were applying for schools and you weren't with us. Like we're hanging out in the park doing things we shouldn't because we can't come to FYI. So we are finding ways to run that program and have them come and do some of these like leadership exercises, thinking about how do we connect you to some internships? What high school do you want to go to? What do you want to study? What college do you want to go to? Right. Or if not college, maybe a vocational school or going to work in a field where you can be an apprentice. Right. Because not everybody wants to go to college, but we want you to have a plan, right? So we're really upping the ante and really trying to be there for those kids. And I think that piece of you can be here and it can be safe and we can have drop-in hours even if there isn't formal programming. So if you just need a place to come, you can come, right? Last summer, we had some internships for some middle school kids who just needed a place to, we had a small camp. And this year we had a bigger camp that you got to see. But we had some folks just come and they were just like, yeah, we're just going to do some internship stuff in the other part of the day. So, it's just finding ways to be there and to create that safety and extend it as far as we can, extend it to the schools, partner with those schools and really create a community for kids.
It's what works. I'm telling you, it's what worked for me. I didn't find it there because of the timing, but the model you guys have is exactly what I did to be able to get out of my situation. What you guys are doing is beautiful. And I don't know, whoever wants to support, please, this is the place. I saw it. It's really working. These kids were beautiful, 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 beautiful. They took ownership. They said when they showed me around the building, and when they were showing me around, it wasn't, this is their area. This is their computer. It was like, this is our computer, right?
That's right.
This is our roof. It's locked, but look through the window. We do things there. And this is our painting. We're painting this wall. And then I go downstairs and they have an area where they just chill out and just You know what I mean? I was like, if I would have had that, I'm telling you,
Yeah,
I would
would
have,
have changed things.
oh my
And
God,
I'm sorry you didn't have that,
dramatically.
Julio. Like, I want every kid to have that. And I think,
They should.
these programs are youth development programs, after school programs, right? They get devalued. And I think, and I'm descended from cops, nuns, and teachers, right? Like I always valued education, and I didn't understand the way that really high quality after school, but the research is there. After school programs, high quality after school programs, they increase health, they increase mental health, they reduce violence, they
Yes.
reduce crime, they increase academic success, right? They increase parents' capacity to go to work and focus on work because they know their kids are safe, right? When we had to cut our program last year at the elementary school, we had to cut it in half. We went from 180 slots to 90 slots because we were not funded. The whole neighborhood lost a bunch of after school slots because of shifting priorities at the state level. And we had to do a lottery, and we had 90 slots. We had 250 people enter that lottery for those 90
Oh
slots.
my goodness, that's
And I had,
250 jobs. That's 250 going back to school. That's
that's right.
250.
Yeah. So, it's really like, it's so valuable, and the science is there. The research is there. We know it works. It's not like just Julio and Kat say it works. It works.
It
We have the
works.
research. It says it works,
It
right?
works.
And it's so important to do it from what we call a positive youth development framework, which gives kids voice and choice. That's why you had that ownership when they were giving you the tour. Because I will tell you, the reason I took this job, the reason I decided this was the job for me, was when I walked into this building and was greeted by a former participant at the front desk who opened the door for me, and then saw these kids going around, and I was like, these kids own this building. And it was that sense of, this is their program. And we just, we
That's
work
what
for
I
them.
got out of it.
We're there for them.
You know what I got out of it? That the counselor, they're great. The counselors were great, but they were there to kind of like serve the kids. Like the kids were
That's
running
it.
the show. They
That's
were
it. They're
running
kind
the
of our
show
bosses, in
in
the
a
right ways. We're
positive
being
way.
appropriate adults and setting all the boundaries and
Of
caring for them
course.
and looking out for them. But it does matter. And I think in
Cares.
particular for middle and high school students,
Yes.
for them to be practicing decision making and buy-in and understanding how they can contribute to their own environment, right? And I think in a lot of areas, kids feel powerless. And so, I think we talk a lot in the field, and I'm a social worker, and we talk about empowering people, but that implies that, like, I have the power to give the kid, and I don't have that power. They have the
Yeah.
power, right? These parents are, I also think the thing that we get, that I am so impressed with, is the caregivers, the people who take care of these kids, the parents and the grandmothers and the aunts and uncles and the big brothers and sisters are so dedicated and so committed to the kids succeeding. And I think they don't get a lot of credit sometimes, right? It's really important. And so we do a lot of engagement with the parents as well, and sort of
But
help
that's
them
you.
understand what's
That's the
happening.
culture you're bringing into the neighborhood. You're bringing a new culture, a new philosophy. Many times, like when you get out of poverty, right? And you get to this place and you have a conversation and it's not a bad thing. You have a conversation with somebody that's never been in poverty, right? And you talk about your passion of going back and helping in it. A lot of the times the word that comes out is, well, they got to learn how to help themselves sometimes, right? Who's going to teach them? It's generation after generation of not knowing, So that's what you're
I think
doing.
not a recognition of, for instance, right? Like when you talk about folks who receive benefits or people who are living below the poverty level, nobody budgets better than somebody who doesn't have that much, because you have to. So this idea that, like, they got to figure out how to budget. No, they know how to budget better than you do, right?
$100 is not doing anything for us.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that's really
Good
important.
point.
And I think it's recognizing the strengths that already exist in the community,
Yeah.
people helping each other out, right? And I think that's really important, and we can lose a sense of that, right? So I think that's right. And that's why it's so important for us, I think, for the kids who come to these programs to connect with staff who literally have been in their shoes as participants, who are like, yeah, I live up the block too. it helps them feel like, okay, well, you understand me because
Right.
Pat, right? I don't live in this neighborhood and I just come in, and I think it's taken them a while to trust me, and now they certainly trust me, but it's different hearing something from me than from somebody who lives in the neighborhood, right? And that's okay. But I think it's really important that we continue to make FYI a place that is by, of, and for the community, right? That's what we're about. That's what we're about.
I wish you understood how, well, maybe it's to me, I'm going to play devil advocates. Maybe it's to me because I was there when you weren't, right? When at the time that you guys are just starting out.
For
me, it's like, it's mind blowing. You are breaking the cycles of generational situations. You're breaking the cycle of you're stopping learned helplessness. You're a social worker. You know about that. You're stopping it. And that's what I saw there with those kids. None of them are helpless. None of them. They all walk with confidence. It's something I didn't have. I was scared all the time of the world. And that fear got replaced with anger. And that anger took me to places that I shouldn't have gone. But I saw a broken cycle. Yeah, you're not going to save everyone, but the numbers are huge.
Thank you for that. Yeah, you're so right in that. There are real things happening, right?
Yes.
Even just going from middle school to high school is a big transition, can be hard. Going into middle school can be hard. Puberty is hard. And if you're also learning English, if you're also living in a house where there's some trauma going on, if you've recently moved to the neighborhood and this is a whole new place for you, all those things, right? And we know that kids experience trauma, and we know that young people of color and folks who are new and doing more transitions, new to the neighborhood, are going to have maybe higher risk for that. So to really make sure that we're saying, we have a program in the school called the Welcome Program. Are you new to the school? Come talk to FYI. And we sort of help you say, here's where you go to get that thing. And I will tell you that when I moved right before high school in my life. And I remember the two deans in my high school did a summer program for transfer students. And it made all the difference for me. And I still was scared when I went to that new high school. In a new state where I had never lived before. But I knew two adults I could go to if I had a problem. And I knew a couple of other kids. And so the same is true. You're at FYI after school, you might meet somebody who's in your class, and then you see them in class, and then you can make a friend, right? We did we did this focus group with some of the summer campers, and we asked them, what do you like about summer camp that's better, that you like? What do you like better than what you're doing during the school year? And I will tell you, in the group that was third graders, we had 7 or 8 kids say what they liked about summer camp was they got to meet new meet new friends, because they're meeting kids from other schools in the neighborhood, or like some like in our elementary school, you could have like 3 different third grades. You might never meet somebody in the other class. So they're mixing. And it was just like, they are looking to build community. These are third graders. They want to connect and build community. And they were like, well, what activities do you like to do? And they were like, well, I like having choice. And this one was like, I like playing basketball. And this one was like, I like arts and crafts, right? So we're giving them, we have this free time. And like a real good example of this is like, here's the stations. This is game time. You could play Jenga. You can play 4 corners. You can do a puzzle, right? And they pick what they want to do. And even that just makes them realize, I can choose. I can learn something new. I can try something new, or I could do what I'm more comfortable with, right?
It's everything.
It's great.
It's everything. It's you giving them that self-empowerment and showing them how powerful the choice is. It's training. That's what I'm saying. You're doing all the right things. Now, what is a barrier, something that you're experiencing right now that if it could change, it would?
Yeah. So one thing I think is that there are so many changes happening in government, particularly at the federal level. There's just a lot of shifting policy and a lot of changes to the Department of Education that I think are putting a lot of uncertainty in the world. And no matter how you feel about the changes, right? If you think they're good or they're bad, there's a lot of insecurity, a lot of feelings of uncertainty, a lot of mixed messages that kids are getting. And I think in the world, there's we're trying to teach our kids in particular that people can have different views about things, and we still have to come together and talk about them, right? So you can have very different feelings about X or Y than I do, but we can have a civilized conversation. We can respect each other.
Yes, we're human. Yeah,
We're human, right? We're all part of
everything
the
you're
same human
saying.
family. And so I think that's a piece of it, right? That sort of kids are growing up hearing messages, and it's harder for them to get a sense of how to understand news or where to look for information and how to ask questions without knowing the answers, because there's so much attacking people for disagreeing, right? So that's one thing I think that's coming up. I think that there's a lot of the negative messages that are in the media about young people, about mental health.
Yes, the young people a lot. I
It's
don't
really
know. People
hard,
always say
right?
that it's a bad. What are you talking about? These kids
Right.
are like
So I think
on
that's
it.
really intense. And I think that particularly, like, I think that, again, we have a lot of good research about what helps students, what helps prevent poor outcomes around mental health, right? We know that since the pandemic, during and since the pandemic, that suicide rates, depression rates, anxiety rates are higher for young people across the board. And if they have other identities that can be um, highlighted that people are talking about in the news a lot right now, it's worse, right? So what we know is we need to make sure that young people have access to low barrier or barrier free mental health services. We need more school clinics. We need more places like FYI where people are already comfortable and feel safe. So we're opening a mental health clinic next year. And really having that be community-based mental health. You come here for this service, you can also go talk to somebody and talk about what's going on so that you get the appropriate care. So you get someone who can really support you in
Yeah, and
multiple
they're there
ways.
for
And
that reason. That's what they're
yeah,
there for.
yeah. I think it's a big barrier. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of stigma around mental health still in the community and more broadly in the country. And we know a lot. We already know a lot. We know what works. We know how to do this. We know that young people can be credible messengers for their peers if they get the right training, if they get the right support,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And there's not enough funding for that.
It works. Mental health, like if you could bring that into their lives, into those communities, that was my biggest jump. When I started looking at myself and working on those things and learning about trauma, learning how to, all that stuff. Once I took like control of it, and the young people wanted, in my agency, a lot of the young people are bringing their parents and making them get
Right,
it. They're
exactly.
not playing.
And they really get it. Like, I do
Yeah.
think I am so impressed with like the middle schoolers and the high schoolers and the way they, even the elementary school kids, like when you think about how social emotional learning feeds into mental health, because they're understanding, hey, I'm having a hard day. This is what I need. I watched a kid who's been having a really hard time, and I've known this kid for a couple of years. And I was so amazed just having these very steady presence of FYI in the classroom. He's been with us for a couple of years, and he's gotten some extra services to help him do better in the pieces he needed some extra help with. And we were in a big group, and there was a lot of noise, and kids are loud, and he was having a hard time. And he took himself over in the corner and like did a thing to kind of like calm himself down. And one of his friends, who also can have some real challenges, went over to him and was like, I want to make sure he's okay. And like went
Okay.
over to say, okay. And he was like, I don't want to talk right now. And the other kid was like, okay. And then he like regulated, got himself together, and then came back and joined the activity. But I will say that was with a really strong after school program that
They have to
FYI
be
provides,
taught.
with trained staff who know how to make sure that he's safe and also help guide him back to the group so that he could still be part of the group and didn't feel ostracized, right?
Yeah.
And that was mental health in action. That was
Yes.
mutual support in action.
I saw it in your building.
Yeah.
I saw it. There was one of the kids, one of the counselors. I think I need what is it? A well-being moment. I'll be back.
Nice.
What was that?
Right? I didn't have that language when I was that age. I did not have that.
I was like, is that what? And I'm trying to counsel. I'm like, what? They're gonna go take their mental health seriously for a moment. Is that a child I heard? I'm telling you.
I was at the high school with Susan Gonzalez, who's one of our staff members who does art therapy work at the high school. And we went to this class, and it's sort of structured in three parts, right? They did a mindfulness moment, and they did some art therapy activities, and then they did sort of a values clarification discussion. And one of the kids came into the room and said, Miss, I really need a meditation moment.
What are you talking?
Like an 11th grader is saying to learn that, and then they can help each other and continue to help themselves.
That is the real answer to fixing these community issues. Teach them how to catch the fish. If you teach them, and it's very true. I know it's like a very low ball saying, but it's true. They taught me how to do it, and that's what got me. And I was able to get myself out of that situation, and then I was able to use it to teach other people. And it's happening in your school where they're coming back to give what you gave them. You're creating heroes. I don't even know how else to say it. Now, one of the things that I know about your work, about working in that type of environment, helping environment, it's hard to keep your morale up. Right. So what would you tell someone that wants to go work for you guys or any community organization like that, but understands it's going to be hard, not only financially, or what would you tell them?
It's a really good question. So, when I teach, I often teach social work students, little new social workers, they're not little, but, and one of the things I say is babies. You got to know you want to do this, right? You've got to be committed, and you have to find the way to do it that allows you to do it in a sustainable way. And I will say, when I went to social work school back in the dark ages, they didn't tell us how to do that. They didn't teach it. I will say now we teach a lot in social work school and psychology programs, and even like increasingly in like legal, like public interest law programs. How do you deal with secondary trauma, right? You and I have talked about this. How do we deal with vicarious trauma, secondary trauma? So making sure you understand, you're not going to prevent burnout entirely. You're not going to prevent compassion fatigue, right? Every day, you're not going to love what you do and feel fantastic at the end of the day. Right. Some days you are exposed to things that are really painful and hard, right? You're working with a kid who's dealing with grief because they lost someone who's close to them. You're working with a kid who is really struggling around school and feeling really like no self-confidence and feeling like they're not smart, even though it's just about finding a way of learning and processing that works for them.
I felt the same way when I was there. I felt the same way.
Because that's real, right? Because a lot of our systems are built for people who learn in one way. When humanity learns in a lot of ways.
In every way,
right? And I think understanding, we talk about neurodivergence, but, in working with the sort of folks I work with, thinking about it's really a spectrum that we're all on. And so finding the ways that you can take care of yourself while you take care of others. That sort of like I feel like we're using a lot of those sayings that feel corny, but true today, you and me, but you can't pour from an empty cup, right? If you deplete yourself, this, you can't do it. And I know that sounds basic, but like I literally said to a colleague this week, and when are you taking time off? And it doesn't mean that a vacation does not cure all ills, but if things have been really, really intense, did you take a day off? Did you just take a day to do nothing? And I know for me, sometimes on the weekends, I'm still working because I got to still work, right? And so I try to make sure there's one day a weekend I don't work. Doesn't always work, but I try. Thinking about that, making sure like if I go to therapy, right? I encourage folks to do that. The other thing I'll say is, as an organization, we're really trying to increase the benefits and the access people have to support through the job. And so thinking about that when you're going to an employer, what do you need? You need to make a living wage. What are their benefits? When do you qualify? Something I'm going to say, which some of your listeners are going to be like, that doesn't apply to me, but like really when you're 20 and taking your first job, start saving for your retirement. It doesn't sound like, it feels like it's going to be 100 years. It's going to go by fast. I can tell you. Fast. But we really, we have a retirement program that folks can contribute into. And just thinking about your future is important, right? Your work, your well-being is important, just as the people you're serving, right?
Wait, another thing I think is helpful. Program? I'm sorry. You have a retirement program?
It's a 403B. It's a retirement program. So they get to like do, it's like there's very clear tax law about it. There's money deducted from your check that goes into an account that's yours that you can access after you retire.
And so this is for the counselors I met, for the people that come back and work there.
Yep. Everybody can do it if they want to. And so we're sort of teaching people how to do that. So
and these
things
are
like that are really important. I think making sure the organization does that, right? So when you're going to work, I think the other thing to do is making sure you get supervision because the work is really hard. You need guide, particularly if you're new. Like you're going to make mistakes. So you want someone who can help guide you. Make sure that you also keep up on like trends in the field, right? you do this too. I know we talked about this when you were in town. I think understanding like what are people researching and how does it apply to what you're doing, right? But really making sure that you take time for yourself, that you are thinking about and practicing what brings you joy. Right
That's right.
now, this day and age, I limit my news intake because
Dude, I don't even watch that thing no more. I'm done.
because it's too much, right?
It
So
is.
making sure that you know, okay, what do I need to know? Because I want to be a responsible citizen, right? What do I need to know for my job? Like I have to study certain kinds of policy and stuff because in order for me to run this organization effectively. And what am I doing for joy? Right? How am I walking my dog? How am I doing my crafts? How am I spending time with my family? Right? So I think it's really like knowing who you are and making sure that your needs are being met too. And that's what we want the kids to do, right?
Yes.
We're not trying to teach them to help each other at the exclusion of taking care of themselves. Yeah. It's how do you take care of yourself and your community? It's about community care, which requires us to care for ourselves too. Definitely. I think it's just, and I really encourage people. I always say, I just turned 60 and I've been doing this work for 40 years. Ooh. And I am so lucky that I get to do work that also is meaningful to me. I would never choose a different field. Like this is the work that grounds me. I love it. And right. It's, I've had to learn how to not take it all home.
Yes.
And I've not always been successful at that. Right. And I think I have really it's finding community also in the work that you do. And I always tell social workers when I train them, when I'm teaching them, you have your social work friends. You can talk about the work that you do, right? You want to have someone you can talk to and you can tell the story and it doesn't freak them out because they understand. And you want friends who don't have any idea what you do.
You can talk about your car.
About like Dungeons and Dragons or sports or whatever it is. And you need both. You need both. My husband is a techie. He doesn't do any of this. He works in the news business, but he does IT. He's like an engineer. We're totally yin yang. Everything is
that's what usually works.
But it's great. It's great.
Wow, what a good answer. That's a really good answer. You're like completely right. And that's why I asked, because it could take a taxing, like you said, you see all this stuff, that secondary trauma, tiring, you forget about yourself. Yeah. So good answer. So what else do we need? What else do you need?
I think what we need is really for us, we need support. Please come support FYI. We'd love it. And we are very hyper local. So FYI doesn't have plans to spread all over the country or even spread all over the city. But we love thought partners and we love to work with people who are doing like meeting you and talking to you. And Catalina was so great because our work touches on similar things in different parts of the country. And I think, we're always willing to talk to people. So we love thought partners. We love, building the community beyond the bounds of our neighborhood in that way. I think I'd love folks to really think about who's doing the work. Again, I'm going to say this again and keep saying it. Who's doing the work you care about in your community, right? And if you're in New York City,
simple.
Talk to me because we're doing great work
you better
in Washington Heights.
If you want me, you better go talk to me.
Talk to me. We're in Manhattan. It's the tip of Manhattan, but it's still Manhattan. So we really love that. We love connecting with people around volunteering. We definitely, are continuing to look for innovative ways to fundraise for the organization. That's always helpful. But I really think that what I really want Americans to do as a proud American who really believes we can continue to make this country fulfill its promises. I want people to find what they care about, find out who's doing that work that they care about. And sometimes you can't do the work yourself. Like we need bankers to do banking, right?
So they're using their skills.
Can you volunteer on the weekend? Can you donate? Can you spread the word about good work that's being done? Everybody can do a piece, right?
Right. That's right.
Not everyone wants to do a march or a volunteer gig or a tutor, right? But maybe you could sponsor someone else who could do tutoring, right? So find a way to give back to whatever community feels really meaningful to you. I think that's sort of what I think is something that I want more of us to do, right? And make space to really work together to make the kids, to give the young people of this country a really good chance at success.
There's hope no matter what you're believing in now. There's definitely hope. I saw it. It was like a bright light that came down. It was this. I don't know. I am so happy I met you. I'm so happy I met your organization. It was really touching. You guys are really changing the world for one community at a time. And I was just really proud of you guys. I don't know how to say it. I was just really proud when I left that place. I was
Thank you
proud of
so much.
what
It means a lot.
work
And I
you're
think
doing.
it was great to have you with us. And I think, I really appreciated that because you're from the neighborhood and also because you are, who you are, that you got what we do in this really
Immediately.
meaningful way. And that helps us a lot.
Yeah, you inspired me. What you did to those kids. Well, I am one of those kids. You did it to me. So keep doing. You want to shout out your website or how they
So it's www.freshyouth.org. So FRESHYOUTH.org. And you can hit us up on socials. Just look for Fresh Youth Initiatives or FYI. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We haven't done much else. But we're in Washington Heights. And if you share it out to your followers too, you can share our website. And, I'm also I really believe in this work. I really believe in this organization and what we do. I love talking to people. So I'm just going to just put this out there that if folks are interested in doing this kind of work, I love to meet with people and talk about what they want to be when they grow up. So they can also reach out to us and I'd be happy to help. Because I think
it has
it's what I care about.
Yeah. Yes. So FYI, go see FYI because they're doing the work that matters. I saw it. It's like a real place with bricks and rooms and art and everything they need. There is no fake stuff here. This for real. So please help them in any way you could. Kat, thank you for joining me. And you have me. Whatever I could do, I'm down. Get on a plane whenever you need me to because
we want you to come when we do our big party in the spring.
Let's do it. Yes, let me know. Send me the invite. Yeah. I'm there. I will definitely go there.
I will. It
Thank
was great
you so
to talk
much.
to you.
Thank you for
giving us this platform. It means a lot.
No, thank you.
And shouting out FYI. Thanks so much.
You.
Take good care. Be well.
Read after me.